That's right. We are back with another redraft. I love these. Again, I have so much fun making these, so I'm making another one. We're going back to 2015 here. Again, just if you haven't seen these before, the way these work, I go back, I redraft basically. I take away all the trades, so it's just the order it would have been if there were no trades. That's the way I do it, and I just redraft using the knowledge that we know now. And also, one other very important detail is that I'm pretending as though the redraft is happening today. So you're getting that player today. You do not get that player for the past however long they've played. You're getting them today. So we're not changing the past, only the future. And let's just get right into it. With the number 1 overall pick, Tampa Bay, they lost 2 offensive linemen this draft because they have their starting left tackle and left guard both going. But they're going to get Trent Brown back. They're going to have him play left tackle. And I think this is a big upgrade from their current left tackle situation. I think this makes a lot of sense. Number 2, the Tennessee Titans, they're going best player available here. That's Danielle Hunter. Let's be honest, every team could use a Danielle Hunter. I think the Titans are included in that category. I think he's one of the better edge rushers in the NFL, so getting him here with the number 2 overall pick, it's worth it. You know, obviously they got Mariota here, but I think that it's an upgrade with Hunter. With the number 3 pick, the Jaguars got Dante Fowler, who is solid, but I think they can do better. So they're going to get La'el Collins, who is undrafted, goes from undrafted to the number 3 overall pick here for Jacksonville. He's just been a really good tackle for Dallas, especially last year. He was dominant. I think Jacksonville could use a tackle, and so I think getting Collins here would work out very well for them. Number 4, the Oakland or Las Vegas Raiders are getting Ali Marpet. He's kind of going to be the replacement for Incognito, who is 37. You have to wonder how long he'll be able to play, although he was good last year. And I think getting Marpet here, I think he's a really good left guard, was drafted by Tampa Bay. Obviously, Oakland picked Amari Cooper here, but I think this is a better pick for them for the future. Number 5, the Washington football team is going to get Eric Kendricks right here. Eric Kendricks, one of the best players in football. He plays, inside linebacker, really talented player, and I think that he can be someone who can really make that defense go for, that front 7, which already has a good D-line. Now you're improving the middle linebacker, and I just think he's best player available. The football team are rebuilding, so it makes sense to me. With the number 6 pick, the New York Jets could use some offensive help. They're getting a true number 1 receiver here. I like going receiver here. I think Cooper is pretty good. I'm going to go with Cooper. Again, I think a typical, number 1 wide receiver out of the draft. I'm not sure how great Cooper is in that regard, but he's still really good. A clear number 1 guy, and getting him here, I think would help Sam Darnold out a lot, as he would instantly become the best receiver Darnold has had to throw to. With the number 7 pick, the Chicago Bears are going to get Brandon Sheriff here. They originally got Kevin White, so they're definitely very happy with this redraft. Sheriff went number 5 to the football team earlier, but now I think that, moving a couple spots down, mostly just because it's easier. I think helping out the inside defensive line helps a lot for Chicago, so I think this works out well. With the number 8 overall pick, hey, how about this? The Atlanta Falcons, they're keeping Grady Jarrett. They did not select him with the number 8 pick. That was Vic Beasley who they got, but I think they're going to make sure to hang on to Jarrett, who is the better player of the two. With the number 9 pick, the Giants did get Eric Flowers, who is now a decent guard, but was not a great tackle and kind of a bust for them. They're instead going to get Frank Clark, so this is a huge upgrade for them. They're true winners of this 2015 redraft. I think getting Frank Clark here, really good edge rusher, can really help complete that defensive line. Number 10, the Rams got Todd Gurley here, but, he doesn't seem too healthy right now, and we're doing this draft today, not in the past. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to get Zadarius Smith, someone who can play anywhere on that defensive line, so he adds some versatility, and I think he's just a really talented player. I think I would have liked for them to get a middle linebacker here, but I felt like Zadarius Smith is the more talented player available. With the number 11 pick, the Vikings, they got Trey Waynes. They are going to instead get Byron Jones, a different defensive back who I think is definitely better. Jones obviously just got a big payday to go play for Miami, but now he's playing for the Vikings in this redraft. I think this is a pretty easy pick, actually. I think he's a position of need and a really talented player. With the number 12 pick, the Cleveland Browns are getting Trey Flowers. It's more of a luxury pick than anything, to be honest. I mean, Flowers, I do think that their defensive line is fine, but you know what? I think Flowers is really good. And again, another guy who can play anywhere on that defensive line. So I think them getting him here really makes a lot of sense to me. With the number 13 pick, the New Orleans Saints did get Anders Pete. They are now instead going to decide to get Darren Waller here. I think Darren Waller is the better player. I do think Darren Waller is a really talented tight end. He's probably best player available. He was drafted as a receiver. He's been moved over to tight end. He kind of still is a receiver, but either way, he's done a lot of good for Oakland, and I think he would do a lot of good in that Saints offense if he moved over there. Number 14, how about this? We have another player not moving anywhere. Devontae Parker, he's staying with Miami. I almost decided to have Devontae Parker end up being the guy who goes 6 to the Jets. I decided to have Cooper go there, but I still really like Parker. I think Parker's a really good guy. He's another number 1 guy, definitely. And so I think this, Miami, they probably want to keep him. And so I think this works both ways. And I do think he's probably best player available at this point, too. So it all just kind of works out. With the number 15 overall pick, the 49ers are going to get Quandre Diggs here. And listen, I know that there's other good players on the board, and I also am fully aware that they have Jimmy Ward, who was good last year. But Jimmy Ward was good for 1 year. There is some question marks there. Diggs has been really good for his entire career. I do see it as an upgrade, and it just gives you some depth in that secondary. I'm kind of a believer in that, you don't want to be in a position where if one guy gets hurt, your secondary could be in deep trouble. So with Diggs, you don't have that going wrong, and you still have a very good team. With the number 16 pick, the Houston Texans are going to get Danny Shelton right here. Danny Shelton, really talented player. They got Kevin Johnson, cornerback. I think that Shelton probably the better guy. Good inside defensive lineman. Nothing spectacular, but I think he's really good. It's also just a position of need. They really need an inside defensive lineman, so he would really help them out there. With the number 17 pick, the Chargers actually traded away their pick, but now they can't do that. They're keeping it, and they're going to get Quan Alexander. I think they could use a linebacker. Alexander, a really good player, runs sideline to sideline very well. Will miss some tackles, but I think is still a above average player and plays with a lot of heart. It would be a great fit to that Chargers team. With the number 18 pick, Kansas City, they're saying that, hey, I would have probably taken Quan if I had that pick. So they're going to go ahead and go with McKinney here instead, who, again, another really good linebacker. The Chiefs got Marcus Peters here with this 18th pick, but they are deciding to not go that route again, after what went wrong the first time, and they're going to get a middle linebacker, which they could probably use. With the number 19 pick, the Buffalo Bills are getting Bud Dupree. It's another luxury pick. It totally is. They don't need an edge rusher, but they could use one. And I think Dupree's really talented. He was a double-digit sack guy last year, and so getting him on their roster, I think it just helps them out a lot. Number 20, I think Philadelphia feels very good about this pick. Marcus Peters falling to them. They could use a corner, and Peters is a very good corner. I mean, again, he has his ups and downs, but he can definitely make big plays happen, and that has a ton of value. So I think this is just a good fit and a good player, and now a good team. I mean, they already are a good team, but yeah. With the number 21 pick, you now have the Cincinnati Bengals, who selected a tackle the first time. They are now going to go ahead and they're going to select Landon Collins here with the number 21 pick. I know people say, oh, he's just a box safety. I think he has a ton of value, and I think that's a bit overblown. I think he's actually still very good. And again, I think he's just best player available, and when you're rebuilding, just draft best player available. Don't overthink it, in my opinion. With the number 22 pick, the Steelers lost Bud Dupree because that's who they selected of this pick. And yes, that's right. You see it on the screen. It's true. I'm having them go Jameis Winston here, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I actually think the Steelers are a pretty complete team, and they don't need a ton. And so I think them getting a good backup quarterback, especially with the way Roethlisberger does have a tendency to get hurt, I think would have a ton of value. And he's someone who potentially could, maybe next year you beat a guy, or in a couple years beat a guy. I don't think there's anyone else, honestly, that would add more value to the Pittsburgh Steelers team than a really good backup quarterback. So that's why I'm going Winston here. Even though, I mean, again, some people think he's a bust, but I think this is the right pick in my opinion. With the number 23 pick, Adrian Amos going to yet another team in the NFC North. He's a former Bear and he's a current Packer, but now the Lions are going to draft him with the 23 overall pick. They got Shane Ray. I think this is a bit of an upgrade. With the number 24 pick, the Arizona Cardinals going best player available. That's Eric Armstead. Really good edge rusher for the 49ers. I think he can get some pressure very well, and they could use some help on that defensive side of the ball. So just sort of checks off all boxes. So with the number 25 pick, the Carolina Panthers, they could really kind of use a number 1 receiver. I think they have a good receiving core, but could use a number 1 guy. So now they don't need one because they have Stephon Diggs. Obviously, we all know what he's done in Minnesota, and I think this is a very good fit. With the number 26 pick, Baltimore could also say, hey, we could potentially use another receiver. And so they're going to get Tyler Lockett here. Tyler Lockett, again, I'm not sure if this is the best fit, because I do feel like Lockett, one of the things that makes him so great is his deep routes. But then again, Lamar has a really good deep ball, so it might be a better fit than people realize. I think Lockett's really underrated, actually. Another number 1 guy going to a team that could use a receiver. With the number 27 pick, the Cowboys are getting Jesse James. You can probably make some jokes about that, but I do think that Jesse James was a really good fit for Dallas. I think they could use a tight end. They really haven't had one since a couple years now, ever since Witten retired and then didn't retire. So I think that getting a good receiving tight end, again, Jesse James isn't a perfect tight end. He's not the best blocker, but I think he makes up for it on the receiving end. With the number 28 pick, the Denver Broncos, they're getting Eric Flowers. Listen, I mean, I know that he's kind of a meme with how bad he was as a tackle, but he really did have a really good year as a guard for Washington. So I think that Denver, they could use an inside lineman, and I think Flowers is your guy. I think he could be a really good guard for them. So I think this is a good fit, in my opinion. With the number 29 pick, you have the Indianapolis Colts. They got Philip Dorsett in the real draft. They're getting Preston Smith here. He's, obviously former Redskin, now plays for the Packers and has been very good for them. Really good player, and I think that they could, again, another team that maybe someone who could play opposite Justin Houston. I think this is a good fit. With the number 30 pick, I'm now going to have Max Williams go to the Green Bay Packers. Max Williams, really good blocking tight end for Arizona, and now he's going to Green Bay, a team that could use a tight end. They tend to not really use tight ends too much. Rodgers has never really been like a big tight end guy, but at the same time, I think the system could use a good blocking tight end actually really well, and I think that would fit. So I think Max Williams fits very well here with Green Bay. With the number 31 pick, Seattle, they could probably use an edge rusher, so they're going to get Dante Fowler here, which I think would be a good fit. I think Fowler would fit in nicely with Seattle, and I think, again, they don't really need a lot, but I think having another edge rusher could help that defense go from great to, elite. And finally, I would be dismissed if I did not make sure that I had the white slot receiver get drafted by the New England Patriots. Of course, Adam Humphries has to be drafted by the Patriots. Adam Humphries, good slot guy, goes from getting undrafted to being drafted in the first round. So congratulations to him. And that concludes the first round of my, I'm not going to do the second round. That concludes my 2015 first round redraft. Some honorable mentions. I could have maybe seen myself having someone draft Marcus Mariota. He probably goes in the second round if I were to do a second round. You also have Melvin Gordon, Raheem Mostert, Tyrell Williams, Demarius Randall, Donovan Smith, tackle from Tampa Bay, Shaq Thompson, and David Johnson, along with some other guys. Obviously, like Todd Gurley. He's someone who he probably would have been drafted if his career didn't fall off. Duke Johnson, and even some other guys. I won't list them all, but those are kind of the honorable mentions. Again, I enjoy doing these things. I think that there's a lot of fun to be had, and even this draft, which I think was kind of a weaker field, there were still some interesting players and some high-end talent. They just weren't drafted at the top of the draft, which is kind of interesting, I think. So yeah, that's what I think. Let me know in the comments below, where did I go wrong? What was I stupid about? I always love hearing from you, and I always love these discussions, as long as you guys aren't mean, which some of you are, but most of you are cool. So, let me know in the comments below, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.